I'm sure you're aware there are 3 crises facing our planet today, and I'm not talking about COVID.
These crises are climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. The biodiversity loss has been called ecological Armageddon.
Collectively, we can contribute to slowing the biodiversity loss, the Armageddon that we, the humans, are responsible for.
As gardeners and farmers, we know how important insects, earthworms, and other small animals are to our plant and to the planet. In fact, if we lost things like insects, worms, snails, spiders, world ecosystem would collapse.
But you know, animals are disappearing at an alarming rate. 75% of insect numbers have been lost over the last 27 years.
The main causes are habitat loss, invasive new pathogens, climate change, and pollution.
I know many of us feel helpless when we hear of these big things, just the same way as when we see flooding, wildfires, heat waves, and other crises on the news.
But there is something that we can do.
We can all put a little bit, or a lot, of our gardens to use as biodiversity areas.
If we can all do a little bit, together we can make a difference.
We can each pledge an area or a project.
Whether it's a small area in the corner with a rock pile,
Or a bug hotel which your kids can make.
Or a small pond made with some old plastic.
Or a strip of unmown lawn, or wildflowers next to your shamba, or half your garden left to go wild.
and together as a group, that little bit will become a big bit. And if we can work out how big that bit is, we might find it's bigger than we can imagine.
So I want to challenge all of you to pledge a project or a part of your garden, your shamba, your balcony, or roadside to this.
We need biodiversity, lots of plants, animals, earthworm, insects, all need each other to grow the foods we need, to balance the environment and to move nutrients through the soil. But we as humans are destroying biodiversity.
3/4 of insects in some areas have been lost due to chemical and because of waste pollution. This is because we have destroyed their habitat and because of climate change. If we do not have these insects, we will not have vegetables, we will not have fruits, and we will not have other crops to sell. So we should protect our insects, we should protect our spiders, we should protect our earthworms and other small animals in our farms.
This is not a hard thing to do. They just need food, water, shelter, and safety. Food like plants, other insects, compost, fruits, and soil.
Water to drink, shelter to nest, to rest and to reproduce, and safety from chemicals and from being destroyed. There are so many things we can do.
It is as simple as feeding the birds or planting an area of flowers for the pollinators. You can put a mulch on your shamba to feed earthworms and small animals that live in the soil. You can put a pile of log or a bag hotel for the insect to shelter.
You can stop burning your garden waste and make a compost heap. You can just plant indigenous trees, or just leave an area for wildflowers, or just leave an area of grass for the butterflies, birds, and bees.
If we each do one little bit, together those little bits will add up to something really big. So what are you waiting for?
There are thousands of different types of bug hotels that you can make. A bug hotel can be as complex as an apartment building or as simple as some hollow reeds or bamboo shoved into an old piece of plastic or a hollow bamboo stem. It's better to make lots of small ones than one big one, because if these get diseased, it doesn't affect a lot of creatures. You can use an old brick or a small piece of untreated wood or a post or even a post in your garden. And what you need to do is you need to drill some holes into the wood, a couple of inches, not the whole way through, just like this. Or grab a handful of hollow aloe stems or bamboo and shove them into an old plastic pot with the bottom cut off, just like this. And then you put it somewhere sheltered and quiet and leave it alone. The insects will come inside and make their homes. Or you can make a frame divided into sections, and you can fill each section with something different. So here we've got dried grass, bits of bark, some compost, wood shavings. Then we've covered the top with a large gauge chicken wire so the insects can come in and not get stuck. Put your bug hotel somewhere quiet and sheltered near some nectar-rich plants. The best place to put it would be near a wetland or a pond, so the frogs can also use it. This is a pollinator pot. A pollinator pot is a large container filled with a range of flowering, nectar-rich plants that are favourites with pollinators. The good news is that these plants are usually also herbs, so you can have two birds with one pot. You can have herbs for the kitchen and nectar-rich plants for biodiversity. Now, let's go and see how one of these is made. What you'll need is a large pot about 50 centimetres in diameter. Put it where you want it to be, because carrying a large pot filled with soil is not fun. You'll need a selection of plants like lavender, single flowering dahlia, sage, flowering zinnia, alyssum, chive, thyme, rosemary. So fill up your pot 2/3 full with potting mix. So put your plants in with the tallest at the back. Now remember to remove the packaging and open up the roots. So one pot like this will take 5 or 6 different plants. This is a salvia. So we put the short ones at the front. Put plants that would trail over the side around the edges. Put tall flowering plants in the centre of the pot. And then fill in around the plants with the potting mix. And then water well to settle the soil around the roots. After that, mulch the soil with dead leaves or dried hay. This stops the pot drying out very quickly. Pots tend to dry out a lot faster than soil in the garden. Let the herbs flower, because that's what will bring in the pollinators. Then deadhead the flowers when they've died to keep the plant flowering. So sit back, relax, and watch what comes to visit. Ponds are great for biodiversity. They attract all sorts of animals: birds, insects, amphibians, and other invertebrates. To make a pond in your garden, all you need to do is dig a hole about 10 feet by 5 feet and 2 feet deep. You don't want it to be more than 2 feet deep, because then the water can't cycle and the water goes bad very quickly. Make sure there are no sharp roots or rocks sticking out the bottom or sides of the hole. Once you've finished digging the hole, line it with dam liner or heavy plastic. Once you've lined the hole with the plastic, you want to secure the plastic using soil and stones. When you finish putting in the dam liner and securing around the edges, now's the time to put in large water plants. Remember to put them in with their bag. So a large water plant like this papyrus, or reeds or irises, are good for ponds because they give shelter to the animals using the pond. And then what you need to do is cover the bottom of the pond with a layer of sand or smooth stones. Try not to use council water that has chlorine in it to fill the pond with water. So this will take a couple of hours to fill, and then we can sit back and watch who comes to the pond. Now, I bet you're wondering what can be so hard about making a pile of logs. Well, they should be made with indigenous trees, They should be somewhere quiet and sheltered, and then they also need to be made with a range of different sizes of material. So let's go see how we make one. So you start with 2 stakes to hold your logs. You put them about 2 feet apart, and then you stack your logs in the middle. You want big logs at the bottom, preferably indigenous trees. Then you lay over some dried grass or leaves. And then some smaller sticks. And then repeat with another layer of bigger logs. And then more leaves. And then more small sticks. And finally, 1 layer of big logs. And there's your log pile. Now just leave it alone, and every now and then come and see who's living in it.